Hello, my name is Im, and welcome back to my channel. Alright man, it's Shingeki day. Again, as always, super excited to get into it. Last episode, it appears that Reiner took some substantial damage, right? They cornered him. These thunder spears were, they were quite effective. And it appears that they caught him off guard. They got him. Again, I don't think he died. It's not going to be that easy to kill Reiner. But let's see how much damage he took, and if he's gonna be able to, bounce back from this anytime soon. Yeah, a lot of that episode was, Reiner versus some of the 104th members, the Levi squad, and it had that incredible like segment. With the commander himself, the mountain of corpses of his fallen comrades. So before I get into the episode, if you're interested in full length for this episode or even early access for the next episode right after this, consider checking out the Patreon page. Consider checking out some of the different posts and checking out the different tiers. Maybe something might catch your eye, and in doing so you'll be supporting the channel. Consider subscribing. Again, there is a schedule now. Everything has a structure. It's not like the old days, there's no random uploads anymore. There's no long stretches of inactivity. And, in that sense, that's the reason I never used to ask anyone to, or implore anyone to, subscribe, because at that point in time, it had to be completely on you, based on the random upload schedule, or no schedule at all, actually, just the randomness of it all, right? So it was entirely up to you. But now there is a structure, there is a schedule, so consider subscribing. You'll be supporting the channel. And yeah, check out the links in the description to my social media, the schedules in the description, and if there's any important updates, I always update the pinned comment right at the top of the comment section. So that being said, I think it's time to get into the episode. I hope you enjoy. Oh my god. That's Ian, right? From season 1 saying that. Oh, right, Marco. Yeah, Marco got out of there quick, huh? Smart guy, intelligent dude. Oh. I remember Annie's reaction. Oh yeah. She saved Jean as well, didn't she? Oh. Right, that's why she was so apologetic in that episode. Reiner had like a flashback to this moment. This is tough for Annie. Really tough. Right, he flips into soldier mode. Yeah, that beatdown he caught. Huh. So there's like people in line to take this kind of thing on?
この呪われた歴史に終止符を打つ。
ジーク戦士長、敵兵力多数接近、麓まで来ています。
勇敢なる戦士たちをここで決着をつけ、我々の使命を果たそうじゃないか。
Oh, great shot that. Oh my god, that thing can speak intelligent Titan, right? Right, Armin saw that.
俺とはこれから離れた位置につく。少しは自分で考えて行動しろよ。終わらせるんだろう、ここで。
そうさ。ここで勝って終わらせてやる。
その調子で愛しの兄の元まで踏ん張ろうぜ。
だからそんなんじゃ。
兄だって絶対絶命の窮地に駆けつける野郎が現れれば、そしてクリスタだ。絶対に救い出してやるぞ。
Save her, huh?
約束だからな。
絶対に。
じゃあな、頼んだぞ、相棒。
任せろ。
Damn. Oh, he is in those boxes, isn't he? Damn.
ざまねえな、悪党め。何泣いてんだてめえら。ほら立て、まだ終わっちゃいねえぞ。
アルミ、交渉できる余地なんてなかった。なんせ僕たちは圧倒的に情報が不足してる側だし、これは仕方なかったんだ。
Yeah, this was bound to happen, right? Ooh. He was in there. Oh my god. The music. It... Oh my god. Is he gonna transform like mid-air? Oh my god. Oh my god, here we go. Head honcho. Oh.
僕が決めた。君たちの人生はここで終わりだ。
僕はもう兄の悲鳴は聞きたくないっていうのに。
豚の餌にすればいい。本当に捕まえている。
He's all in this time, man.
どこに行くアルミン。話をするんだろう。
そこまで見えていて、なんで話に乗ったの？
確認したかった。君たちを前にした途端にまた泣き言を繰り出し許しを請うんじゃないかってね。でももう大丈夫みたいだ。君たちは大切な仲間だし、ちゃんと殺そうと。
It's a different side of Bertolt.
それは僕たちが悪魔の末裔だから。
いや、君たちは誰も悪くないし悪魔なんかじゃないよ。でも全員死ななきゃいけない。もうダメなんだ。
Oh, not this time, Mikasa.
というか、あれが本当にベルトルトなの。
Right?
私にはまるで別人に見えた。僕もだ。
恐怖もあまり感じていないし、 周りがよく見える。きっとどんな結果になっても受け入れられる気がする。そうだ、誰も悪くない。
Oh.
全部仕方なかった。
Okay.
だって世界はこんなにも残酷じゃないか。
That's for damn sure. Not gonna lie, I have goosebumps right now. Oh. Enter the colossal titan.
大丈夫。
ハンジャンは
ベルトルトの近くにい
Oh.
た。
Music is incredible.
アルミン、私たちの指揮権は今あなたにある。
Come on, Armin. Come on, let's go.
これより撤退。
いや、待て、アルミ。ベルトルトを団長たちのいる壁に近づけるのはまずい。内門の建物まで燃やされたら、団長たちは獣の巨人と挟み撃ちにされちまう。
それじゃベルトルトはここで倒さなくちゃいけないの。
Oh.
今ここにいる僕たちだけの力で。
アルミ、火がもう指示よ。
はよセット。
Oh.
さあどうする。獣の巨人、すべての作戦通りか。
Oh. Whoa. Bertolt, man, this is a totally different side to Bertolt. And in that sense, you know, it is, again, you know, I find myself in a tricky position because I am kind of proud of Bertolt in this episode, right? Because he broke out of his shell. But then again, yeah. Both sides, right? Whoa. Okay, so, you know, I've got to say, I was so satisfied and so happy that Bertolt was like the focus of this episode. He was in the spotlight throughout the episode. You know, I was just so happy about that. Because, you know, he has been in the background since his introduction, and he's always kind of been, you know, he's never been the focus, right? Out of this Reiner-Bertolt duo, it's always kind of been Reiner, right? And in that sense, it's in line with, you know, his personality and the way he carries himself, right? He prefers to be out of sight, out of, you know, out of the spotlight. He prefers that. And he was similar to that, right? She likes to stay out of the spotlight, right? And, you know, I think another reason for that might be the fact that maybe she didn't want to get attached to anyone, right? You know, in this episode, they showed how much she struggles with having to do that to Marco, right? So in that sense, it's possible that she just kind of, you know, played on that, you know, she played up that loner personality trait about her. But yeah, you know, going back to Bertolt, that all changed this episode, right? Some fantastic character development on Showcase here. Again, you know, a moment of clarity for Bertolt. And you know, in that sense, I'm just so like I said, I'm so proud of him, and you know, I said this earlier, man. I care for people on both ends of this conflict, so it's not going to be easy. You know, it's not going to be easy for me, and it's certainly not easy for the characters as depicted in this episode. You know, Connie and Sasha are straight up just crying after, you know, they think they've basically killed Reiner, or finished him off. Even Armin has some struggles, and Mikasa even kind of, thinks on it after Armin mentioned it. And even Bertolt himself, he said that I believe he said, I care for you as comrades, dear comrades, something along those lines. But I still have to kill you, right? And speaking of Reiner, of course he was crucial. He played a part in Bertolt's newfound self-belief and moment of clarity, right? And Reiner's been trying to help him through this, or help him get to this point for some time now, right? He and once again, in this episode, he implores him to think for himself, to take action, to be decisive, to make that executive decision, if need be. And Bertolt certainly gets there. He certainly gets to that point. And he also reminded him that he should remember that he has the greatest ability of all, right? So he certainly takes all of this in and kind of puts it together, and in that sense it's interesting that juxtaposition that the greatest ability of all belongs to someone so indecisive and timid, right? A gentle giant of sorts. The relationship Bertolt and Reiner have is, to me at least, one of the most interesting relationships of the series. They have this bond. They've been so tight, so inseparable since the first time they showed them on screen, right? It's a brotherly love, right? And I hope the origins of this connection, this bond, are explored in a potential backstory at some point, and how it developed over time and how they met each other. They are opposite ends of the scale, right? That's been clear since the beginning, yin and yang. But again, that I feel like they kind of complete each other in that sense. Yeah, man, I got emotional. I got teary-eyed as they go back to back at that one point, right? At the end of that flashback, almost as they're saying goodbye for now. It certainly felt like that to me, man. For that reason, I started to get a bit emotional. And like I said, I do care for them. I do care for them. I know, I know a lot of people don't like them. I know a lot of people want them to die, or wanted them to die as soon as possible. That's not the case for me. It's just not. And one of the most interesting things to come out of that conversation they had at the top of the wall is this promise they made to Ymir, that no matter what, they're gonna save Krista, and it's interesting to hear Krista at this point, because I'm so used to Historia, but that apparently this promise was made to Ymir, who at this point she could be dead at this point, and maybe that was like a final promise they made to her, her final request perhaps. I'm certainly starting to lean towards that possibility at this point, but I'm leaning towards that because they're taking this so seriously. You could tell it means a lot to both of them. And he taps his chest, and there's some kind of something metal in his pocket, right? And he taps it, or some kind of tin. So I don't know, he's got something in there in his pocket. I don't know if they're actually even gonna get close to Krista or Historia ever again. Reiner and Bertolt, that is, but so going back to Bertolt, man, he was so defiant and direct in his position, right? He laid down the demands, right? He stood his ground, and he took the initiative, right? He made the executive decisions, right? And he took the initiative as the sole representative of his crew at that point in time, right? Because Reiner, he might be out of the conflict for who knows how long, and the Beast Titan is just it doesn't look like he's gonna be entering the conflict anytime soon. I mean, he's certainly part of the conflict, but he's keeping his distance. And to be honest, that's all he needs to keep doing, right? He doesn't need to get any closer than that. So all of this kind of reminded me of this great saying I came across once about character, and that true character can be expressed through choice and dilemma, right? How a person chooses to act under pressure is who he or she is, and that the greater the pressure, the truer and deeper the choice to that character, right? And Bertolt, he didn't let Armin take control of the situation, not at all, right? He was completely in control of this situation, this parlay of sorts, right? He clocked everything Armin was trying to do, right? He knew everything that was going on around him. He even anticipated Mikasa's surprise attack, right? She tried another time. Originally, she got the jump on them in season 2, episode 6, but this time he was ready, man, and he handled it. He handled her this time, right? Most impressive. And in that sense, it should be remembered that he was top 3, right? Top 3 ranked out of that 104th. And he showcased it, right? He showcased it. He countered everything beautifully, right? He even got his ear chopped off, right? And he kept his composure and got out of there. That's not something simple. That's not something to, just kind of mention in passing. Mikasa got the jump on him, or tried to surprise attack him again, and he countered it. That is most impressive, man. And it rattled Mikasa, or she was really surprised by this, and so was Armin. They both felt that he was like a different person at this point, and Bertolt himself felt that he was kind of like a different person. He kind of felt that this is all so strange to him, right? This moment of clarity, that he's able to see everything, the big picture, and that he's able to just accept anything that happens from this point on, right? And Bertolt knowingly came down there to talk, despite knowing that Armin's clearly planning something here, and he's clocked everything Armin's trying to plan. He came down there to gauge his resolve, right? And they brought up a quick flashback of season 2, I believe episode 11. He's trying to see if he can hold strong, and he was rock solid this time, right? And also his approach was a bit different. His calm demeanor allowed him to take a different approach than Reiner. Reiner is just disgusted by them. I believe he called them a filthy and evil race. More on that later. That's just crazy. But Bertolt is quite the opposite, right? He's able to provide some clarification on this, and he tells Armin that they're not an evil race, or they're not the devil, and that they've done nothing wrong. But even if you've done nothing wrong, unfortunately you have to die, right? And he made no qualms about making it clear that no one's in the wrong here, but they still have to die, right? So he was just so calm throughout all of this, and again, even if you haven't done anything wrong, you might have to end up dying for something that's far greater than your individual self, right? The world is just that cruel. That moment, though, the moment he goes up there and says that, oh my god, and then transforms, insane. Just an incredible moment of the series, to be honest. But on that note, his transformation had a bit of a different impact this time, and he was kind of like a nuke going off, right? So in that sense, is it because he's able to control the amount of heat. But all of that being said, about Bertolt, it's all kind of bittersweet, right? Because once again, I simply have to go back to the post-credit scene from episode 12, and the fact that it's highly likely that it's Bertolt up there. I mean, it's kind of like a foregone conclusion, but I'm still kind of trying to, delude myself into staying away from that thought. And by the end of this episode, it was made quite clear that they are going to take on the Colossal Titan. So, right, that was I was talking about how that also potentially spoiled like the outcome of a potential fight. And here's the fight, right? They set it up that they have to take on the Colossal Titan here and now. Yeah, so in that sense, it is bittersweet, that Bertolt's kind of finally opening up and, really coming into it, in that, there's a good chance he might actually end up dying at the end of this. But let's move on to the beginning of the episode. What a pleasant surprise, to be transported back to season 1 and Trost as Eren is carrying that boulder and that, fantastic music is playing in the background, and you've got Ian shouting commands to defend Eren. I was even hoping to see Rico make a quick appearance, but it didn't happen. Speaking of Rico, she never really came back into it. I know she didn't die or anything, but I guess her time was kind of, they showed her in season 2 and then kind of, moved on. But yeah, again, it didn't, this flashback didn't stay pleasant for long. But again, I love it anytime a story does this kind of thing, goes back to a significant moment in time, and looks at it from a totally different perspective, right? To give context, right? Or provide context to a situation, right? Or again, give an alternative perspective. And this story is so suited for that kind of technique, and I certainly hope this kind of thing happens again. For a few more scenes, because there are certainly scenes that I've seen throughout these 3 seasons that could use some alternative perspective, and could prove to be quite intriguing if they give me alternative perspective to those scenes. Now, going back to the notion that it didn't stay pleasant for long, unfortunately Marco stumbled into the wrong place at the wrong time. But again, as far as Marco is concerned, he's just kind of walking towards his fellow 104th teammates, right? His comrades, Reiner and Bertolt. But unfortunately for him, he came in at such a tricky moment, again, at the wrong time, because at this point in time, they're kind of openly discussing their options and discussing the possibilities of this. Again, a different perspective of a scene that I saw a long time ago. But Reiner was spot on. Unfortunately, in this case at least, Marco was just too damn sharp, right? Too smart for his own good at that point in time, and he was able to contextualize quite quick that Reiner and Bertolt, indeed, they just slipped up, right? And he put it together really quick, right? Intelligent person, right? Intelligent individual. And yeah, Reiner kind of goes after him, and it was interesting to see Annie's reaction to this. She was quite rattled by the possibility of what might come next. She was quite hesitant, right? And it all kind of provides context to her being almost shell-shocked and apologetic during that cleanup in season 1, right? She was rattled. I'll never forget her face in that moment. And Soldier Reiner kind of walks up on her, and it's like, oh, there's no point in apologizing. At that point, he can't even remember that not too long ago he kind of killed Marco, right? Now, one of the most interesting developments of this episode comes at this point, because at this point Reiner is accusing Annie of becoming sympathetic towards their fellow 104th members, He brings up the fact that she put her life on the line for Connie, and then also, she came in to save Jean as well. I still remember that scene of her just gliding in. I remember, that the one Titan's kind of lunging at Jean. It's kind of slow motion, and Annie, comes in again, almost kind of like glides in. It's a really cool shot. I still remember it. But the most interesting part of this, it's not that he's accusing her of this, because it's clear she is becoming sympathetic towards her fellow, teammates, her fellow 104th comrades. That much is clear to see. This is a struggle that she has to deal with. But the most fascinating part of this is the fact that he called them an evil race, a filthy race, right? That's... and then, this concept comes up again a bit later in the episode as Armin brings up something Bertolt originally said in season 2, right? The spawn of the devil, right? That's what he called Armin, as Armin tried that torturing any tactic against Bertolt. And of course, he got a reaction out of Bertolt back then in episode 11 of season 2. Of course, he tried it again this time, but no, Bertolt didn't bite. But yeah, spawn of the devil, filthy race, evil race. So it appears that they think, or they believe, that the humanity inside the walls is a totally different race. And that concept is just crazy. And not just a different race, a filthy race, an evil race, according to Reiner. Damn, man, this is exciting stuff. Now, again, before I get too excited, the real question becomes: is this actually true? Is this fact, or is this propaganda they were fed before being sent off, right, as child soldiers into enemy territory to execute horrible missions, right? Or part of their mission was quite horrible, to exterminate the humanity within the walls, right? And Bertolt kind of reiterates that as he lays down the demands to Armin. Again, I remember talking about them being, child soldiers a long time ago in season 1, right? Coming in as children and having to do these terrible things, to put on children. And, staying on that topic of child soldiers, I remember in season 1, it was starting to become clear to me that their Titan capabilities are more of a controlled selection, right? Because they're a crew, right? And they were sent in on a mission. So I feel like they were selected. Everything about this was, a controlled mission, right? So, and, in that sense, the Beast Titan, or Zeke, pretty much confirms it, right? By, telling Reiner that if they fight again over, the goals, their current goals, or objectives, and if Reiner loses in a rematch, he's gonna have to give up the Armored Titan to another warrior. So that's kind of confirming it, right? That there are others in line that are ready to take this on if need be, or others in training, or again, child soldiers, man. If there's, they've shown me Reiner, Bertolt, Annie, and their late friend Marcel. Who's to say there isn't like an army of them back there, back in this hometown of theirs, right? And again, the Beast Titan is alluding to that, that there's always a replacement. And also that kind of then brings in my potential, ticking time bomb plot device theory from episode 7. That, that it's possible that all Titan shifters have to, pass it on at some point. And in that case, it appears that, this crew, their hometown, people from their hometown already have replacements ready to go, right? That's a possibility here. So, my taking time on plot device theory is still in play. That's probably one of the most exciting ones I've, kind of put out there in my three plus years of doing Attack on Titan, of doing Shingeki. So yeah, it's definitely still in play, and that possibility is still alive. That that all Titan shifters might have to pass it on at some point. But speaking of these different race, a filthy race, an evil race. The Beast Titan, or Zeke, I have to learn to call him by his name now, I guess, mentioned something about a cursed history, right? And at this point, he's talking to his comrades, so there's no point of lying, right? There's no point of making shit up. So I think it's fair to assume that he's not. There might be some legs to this, different species, different race concept. Right, and at one point he even said that I want it to end. I think he said something like I just want it to end with me or with us, right? So there is a potential of some sort of cursed history or long time conflict between the people inside the walls and their people, right? It's totally possible. Again, anything's possible in this show. Especially given the fact that everyone, within the walls is so in the dark, and in extension to the characters inside the walls, us, the audience, right? But the warrior crew seems to know everything, they're not in the dark. So yeah, the concept of them having some kind of long-run conflict between two different races. Fascinating stuff, man. Fascinating stuff. Interesting stuff. Intriguing stuff. There's still so many questions, man. So many mysteries. And, this concept of them being different races is like adding on to it, So, of course, I still need so many answers. And, of course, the characters need so many answers. And in that sense, it's kind of so unfair to them, They have no idea that they're part of this potential conflict, right? Some cursed history. Right, and again, that goes back to the point of Bertolt saying that you haven't done anything wrong. You haven't done anything wrong, or you're not devils. But unfortunately, you still need to die. Right. So in that sense, it's so unfair that they're fighting, but they don't really even know why they're fighting, or like why they're being attacked. So of course, at some point they're gonna find out. They're going to learn about all of this, and it's going to be an exciting fucking moment for them and me. But one thing I've kind of overlooked, unless I've mentioned it before, but I can't seem to remember if I have, is the fact that, they keep mentioning that they need to recover the coordinate. Meaning that, if they're going to recover it, that means that they used to have it on their side at some point, right? If you're going to recover it, but then the question becomes, if they had it, how did it end up inside the walls? Again, man, questions, so many questions. And the whole concept of different races, I have seen one of their people, or someone that came from the outside, Grisha Jaeger, come into the walls, right? And actually marry someone from that selection of humanity from inside the walls. So I have seen some, mixing of the races, right? And the result was Eren Yeager, right? So, yeah, again, a lot of season 3 or, at one point in season 3, there is a moment that Eren realizes that he's not some chosen one, he's not special. In a lot of cases, yes, that's true. But then in a lot of cases, he is special. He is special in different, in a different perspective. He is special, right? And again, now this whole possibility of his dad, his father being from a totally different race, is also playing into that, right? And I brought up the concept of his DNA even being different than most humans, right? Now I need to go back to Annie because there's still some interesting stuff that came out of this, right? Reiner felt the need to challenge Annie, right? And he told her, straight up told her, you have to prove yourself, show me that you're not the same as this race. And not just her, he also mentioned her father, right? So I found that interesting that he brought up her father in this conversation, and that he wants her to also prove that he is different than this race, right, through her actions. And speaking of her father, I remember, I've seen a few glimpses of him back in season 1 through a couple of flashbacks, right? I remember him saying that he'll always love her even if the rest of the world hates her. I remember, in the season 1 finale, as she's falling from the wall, after Mikasa slashes her, he's saying that, he's apologetic. I remember talking about how he might have put her through something that, he's apologetic for at this point, and that he wants her to come back to him. So yeah, this timely reminder, or this new mention, or fresh mention of her father could play a role going forward, bringing him, Reiner bringing his name up, or bringing him up, could, mean that he still has a role to play in this story, or might play a role at some point down the line. It could even be through the flashback, if they do like a flashback for Annie and the rest of the, the crew, Reiner, Bertolt, and how they all made it to that crew in the first place. Again, that still remains one of the most exciting prospects of the show, their flashback. That's going to be incredible. I'm sure that's just so much to unpack, right? How they even got to that point of becoming child soldiers and taking on these incredible Titan abilities. Let's see, man. That's going to be exciting. But her father, yeah. But, the fact that he's even challenging her to, prove that they're different than this race kind of suggests that they're similar, that they might be really similar, actually. And that he wants her to show that they're different than this race, right? Yeah. On one end, it seems like, Reiner's making it seem like they're like this totally different race, evil, evil and filthy. But then it's also, there's also signs pointing towards them being quite similar, but there are some things that are separating the two, right? So much so that Reiner is challenging her to, prove it right now. And, also, this might have been the incident that kind of helped Annie to kind of zone in and, get on point, or, get her head straight, or get her, head into the mission again. Again, it was a difficult thing to go through, to have to, watch Marco die. And of course it affected them. You see tears in Annie's eyes. You see Bertolt, he's crying, he's got tears in his eyes. And then it affected Reiner so much that he switches over to the soldier persona of his, to, maybe deal with this, right? To cope with the madness that they're watching at the moment, or the madness they're going through. So yeah, you do have to feel for them. I know a lot of people don't like them, and I remember I used to see comments about people hating Reiner and Bertolt. Again, there's always a bigger picture. I have to see their backstories, man. I simply need to see their backstories. But yeah, going back to Annie, from this point on, she was kind of zoned in, right? Because, if you jump to season 1, episode 17, the female Titan, right? She had no problem slaughtering these scout members, right? Though, of course, she did let Armin go once, she peeked his face after lifting the hood. But again, she was ruthless, right? She was savage in that chase to, kidnap Eren. So, this might have helped her in that, in that sense. It might have been a stepping stone to clarity, right? But, again, that being said, after she lost Eren, to Levi Heicho, there's that moment of her, against a tree, and she's crying. Again, that goes back to, what this mission might mean to each one of them. It might not mean the same thing to, Reiner, Bertolt, and Annie. They might have their own reasons for all of this, right? And she was quite upset about this, of losing Eren and not completing the mission, or being so close to, completing the mission and then losing out, right? So a few more interesting things from the episode. How about Jean? How about my dude Jean? most impressive. He is one of the most rock solid members of the 104th or the Levi squad. You know, he is just out here, you know, focused and calm and, you know, taking command or, you know, taking initiative. I love to see him, man. Again, you know, he's just because he hasn't been in the focus doesn't mean, you know, I've forgotten about him. He's still one of my favorite characters. And again, you know, I love to see it. You know, he's the one who's, you know, keeping us solid as his fellow, you know, 104th members understandably struggle with, you know, the aftermath of their actions against Reiner, right? They're upset. They're upset that, you know, they potentially just killed someone they had a bond with. You know, they make connections. That much is clear. And, you know, again, that goes back to the ending to this season, you know, depicting the passage of time they've spent together and built these connections. But again, you know, Jean's there to try to pull them together. You know, he's not really letting this affect him, even though it might be affecting him on the inside, but he's not showing it, right? He knows that he has to stay in the game. And, you know, he's the one who holds Eren back, because at one point Eren is ready to go in, right? As Armin and Bertolt are kind of having their back and forth. Jean is the one who holds him back, and he tells him, oh, take it easy, Eren. You know, it's not a good idea to go in there yet. This isn't your fight yet. And he's the one who points out a potential flaw or risk in Armin's new plan of action for the Colossal Titan, right? So, you know, it's just fantastic to see him out here taking control, right? He's another one that could be in a position of leadership, right? He's got all the makings for it, and he's showing it. And, you know, in that sense, it's quite fitting that, you know, they show him out there taking control and showing his leadership capabilities, or, you know, or to be in a position of command, perhaps. You know, in the same episode, they kind of, you know, showed Marco again, because Marco was the person who originally told him that, you know, he feels that Jean could be a great leader, right? That he has the abilities or capabilities of a potential leader, a good leader. So I thought that was a beautiful moment as well, even though, you know, they showed Marco in a really brutal sense, right? Because they showed me how he ended up dying. Like, I've seen it, you know, they showed me a glimpse of it in past seasons, but, you know, this was like straight up just showing how it all, you know, played out from beginning to end. And Hanji, speaking of scout members, Hanji, I don't think she died. I feel like she's too big of a character to kill, you know, off screen. And, you know, they tried something similar in episode 7, you know, in that underground battle royale. And, you know, it almost, you know, it seemed like she might be dead, but, you know, she was fine. That being said, you know, she has to take substantial damage at this point, right? To be that close to the nuke almost, right? And Moblit was right behind her, so let's see how that plays out, because, you know, I remember in my episode 12, you know, frame by frame for the post-credit scene, you know, I did say there is a potential that could be Hanji up there, but again, you know, but later on, you know, I kind of stumbled on the possibility of it being Armin up there. But yeah, you know, I don't think they killed her off screen, but let's see how that plays out. And, you know, I noticed that the Beast Titan, or Zeke, also, you know, is a Zeke Jaeger, because, you know, I still do think he is Grisha's brother. So in that sense, you know, could he be Zeke Jaeger? Let's see. But, you know, I noticed this interesting tick of his. You know, he likes to scratch his ear, and he did it both in his human form and then as the, you know, as a Beast Titan right at the conclusion of the episode. And, you know, it was actually really great to see him as a character, right? Get a good look at him as a character, you know, rather than just this mysterious, elusive figure that makes an appearance here and there, you know. At first in the season 2 finale, and then, you know, once again as he fought Reiner, you know, he just made quick, you know, little tiny appearances here and there. But, you know, this time he's established as a character, right? I heard him speak. I saw his demeanor. seemed quite calm, didn't actually even seem that menacing in his human form. But how about this scout, this scout titan, this intelligent scout titan? Again, it just continues to be so creepy, man. So strange. There's really strange presence about this titan. Even the way it speaks, oh man, it was jarring. That being said, it's fascinating, so intriguing, I certainly want to learn more about him, or it. Again, backstories are, so high on my list of things I need to see in this series. Backstories for like all of them, man. The whole crew, including Zeke, the war chief, the Beast Titan. Yeah, man. So I think that's about it for the episode. So yeah, if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like. Consider dropping some comments. Let me know what you guys thought. Consider subscribing. There's a schedule in place now, so there's no random uploads anymore. There's no long stretches of inactivity. Everything has a day, and that day, I don't know the day at this moment in time, but you can check out the specific day for Shingeki in the pinned comment or in the description. And if you're interested in full length for this episode, or even early access to the next episode right now, head on over to the Patreon. Consider checking out some of the stuff that's posted there. Maybe something might catch your eye, and in doing so, you'll be supporting the channel. And check out the links to my social media in the pinned comment, the description. And again, speaking of the pinned comment, it's right at the top of the comment section. It's always there. It's pinned, right? And if I need to make updates or give an update, I usually just edit that comment. Right then, that's about it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you soon. Take it easy.